What is your full name?
Kathleen Louise Saffron.
Where are you from?
I'm from Waterford, Michigan.
How old were you in 2009?
Oh gosh, 2009, I was 45.
What do you recall about your financial life before the Great Recession, before 2007?
It was, we were keeping up with expenses and things that we wanted to do. We certainly weren't wealthy, but we weren't poor. We could, keep a roof over our heads and food in the refrigerator and do things with our kids. But we couldn't do any. We couldn't necessarily do any extravagant things.
Had you experienced economic hardships prior to 2007?
When Uncle Scott lost his job, he was unemployed for quite a while. He drew unemployment for a while, but when the unemployment stopped, then we didn't have his income. So that was before the recession, the Great Recession started. So when you go from two incomes to one, yeah, it makes a big difference.
How did you discover that our nation was facing a severe economic situation?
When basically from the news, because we didn't have an issue with the lending companies, like that's what collapsed. So our first understanding of it was through the news.
What financial hardships did you experience during this economic situation?
Well, again, we were down to one income. Fortunately, I was secure in my job, but during this recession was also the time that GM went through their bankruptcy. So I did lose some of the GM stock that I owned. It devalued basically to nothing. So it wasn't a huge sum, but it's part of your retirement money. So, but for our day-to-day expenses, it really, we were okay. We were no worse off than we already were.
What economic decisions did you and your family make response to the severe economic situation? How did you react?
Right. What did we do? Like, how did we cut back or things like that? Again, because the actual situation itself didn't affect us too much, we had already cut back on a lot of our stuff because we were down to one income. We didn't have to really make any other changes because of the recession.
What do you think of President George W. Bush and the Congress's reaction to the Great Recession?
Honestly, I don't know what that was.
Okay. That's okay. How do you feel about financial bailout given to the banking industry? Why? And why?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to ask me that question. Because my company, General Motors, got the same type of deal. We got a bailout when a lot of people thought that we shouldn't. I don't want to pass judgment on other companies that got a bailout. Right or wrong, I know that I'm grateful that we got one, or else I'd be without a job, and so would a lot of other people, because the trickle-down effect of a company and all the people that rely on that company being in business. And I assume the same is true in the banking industry, even though I don't know it as well as my own industry. I hope it's a good thing for all of us. I know a lot of people probably don't agree with that, but I benefited from the same thing. So,
how has the Great Recession changed you and your family?
I think we've always been, we've always made it a priority to save, but I think during the recession, we knew how important it was to save, especially for our retirement. And even though our retirement money didn't do well during the recession, we didn't panic. We didn't take it out. We knew that it would bounce back, and it has. So I mean, just the fact that saving is important and hopefully raising kids who are thrifty.
What would you want students to know about economic crisis?
I think the most important thing is not to panic when it happens. I think that we live in very cyclical times, so you're going to have times of great income and times of great recession. And you just have to understand that that's going to pass. And over the long term, if you look at things day by day, it could be very volatile up and down. But if you look at the long term, basically, and I'm speaking specifically about like your retirement funds, like in a 401k, you're gonna gain money, lose money, gain money, lose money. But if you look at the long term trend is always going to be gaining. So as long as you don't panic about your money being in there, you should be better off at the end than when you were at the beginning. And so I think that's one of the things that I think is most important is continue to be diligent in your savings and not panic if there is a situation like that. If there's another recession, if there's an economic downturn, know that it will turn around.
Well, that is all the questions I have.
Oh, great.
Thank you very much.
Ah, thanks, Matthias.